Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zack, and today I am driving the all-new 2026 Audi Q3. Up front is a 2.0-liter turbocharged inline-4, and down below is a 7-speed automatic transmission. Now, I am super excited to be driving this all-new Q3 because it is all new. This is the next generation of Q3, and the Q3 is one of the most popular vehicles sold by Audi. And so this is kind of an important car to review because this is gonna be their rent money for the next couple of years. So I'm excited to dig into it with you here today. But if you'd like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And if you'd like to see all my videos weeks or sometimes months in advance, you can head on over to my Patreon for only $5 a month. Last but not least, huge thank you to Audi of Louisville for letting me borrow their Q3 for today's video. More on them towards the end, but if you'd like to browse their inventory, you can do so down in the description below. But let's get back to that 2.0-liter turbo under the hood. Well, it makes 255 horsepower, which is a pretty good number right off the bat. However, the other thing I really like about it is the fact that this 2-liter turbo has been around for a very, very long time. And so, while the Q3 itself might be new, the engine really isn't, and that's not a bad thing. That means that there's tons of parts availability. That means it is a thoroughly tested and researched engine. And so when buying the first model year of a vehicle, it's actually kind of a smart move to buy one with an older engine because it won't have nearly as many problems, and that's the story here with the Q3. Everybody knows about the 2-liter turbo. Every mechanic has worked on a 2-liter turbo, so you're covered there. Like I said, paired to it is a 7-speed dual clutch. It's a good transmission. Again, nothing really new here for Audi, not really breaking any ground for the Q3. It works well, and I don't have any complaints. Last but not least about the drivetrain, the Q3 is all-wheel drive, and they are all-wheel drive now. Audi has actually dropped the front-wheel drive option. I guess it wasn't popular enough. And so every Q3 from here on out is all-wheel drive. How does it feel to drive the Q3? I'll be honest, guys. It drives pretty much like the old one. Now, they have updated a lot. New suspension. But the Q3 has never really had an inspiring drive, and this doesn't either. This isn't anything new. It's not groundbreaking. It's a little SUV with a fair amount of power, and that's all you really need out of a vehicle like this. The ride isn't harsh or unforgiving. I'm not chattering my teeth over speed bumps. It just works. And that's the straightforward experience that I would want out of a Q3 like this. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have a digital gauge cluster, and it somewhat perplexes me because it is pretty thin, but the overall design of the gauge cluster is rather large. But it feels really, really strange that it's just sort of cropped in front of me. The gauge cluster itself is laid out well, it looks good, it's presentable, have tons of information, it's easy to read, but it's just awkwardly small. I don't know how I feel about that. Then moving towards the steering wheel, we have our wipers and turn signals on this sort of bar going behind the steering wheel. Very, very interesting. And on the other side of that is our shifter. So push button shifter, reverse neutral drive. Very, very different here for the new Q3. On the steering wheel on the left, we have our view and selector buttons for that little gauge cluster screen. And off to the right, we have skip track, heated steering wheel, and phone options. Off to the left, we do have a climate control vent as well as our headlight switches. And moving on to the door, we have our lock and unlock as well as our Sonos speaker. And down below, we have power mirrors and power windows. Moving into the center, this is where we get our full-size infotainment display. So by comparison, the gauge cluster looks even smaller when poised next to the infotainment screen. Wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. It works very, very well. It has a very high refresh rate. It's easy to see, easy to navigate. I'm a big fan of Audi's current infotainment system, and I've used it on the S5, the Q5, the SQ5, a couple of the different Audis that I've driven recently. Now the Q3 finally gets to join its siblings in having the best top-of-the-line infotainment from Audi at the moment. and that's really, really nice. Another really nice thing is that this does have a 360 camera, so right at that $50,000 mark, you get the 360, which is very, very helpful. Down below that, we have 2 climate control vents, and then we have a couple of buttons for our drive mode select. We have individual, dynamic, comfort, and off-road plus. Kind of interesting to see an off-road mode on this vehicle. But then we have traction control, auto start stop, on and off, hazard switch, parking cameras, and our safety features button. Opening up the center console, we have a wireless charger, 12-volt outlet, and 2 USB-Cs, so all of your charging needs will be met here in the Audi Q3. Then we have the engine start stop button, volume and skip track button, power parking brake, and cup holders. We'll do a big freaking bottle test here in the all-new Q3, and it fails just like every other Audi currently on sale. Then we do have a center console and the seats. The seats are very, very comfortable. These are good seats, and that's nice to see in a vehicle of this size. Not always a high priority here in vehicles like this, so it's nice to see Audi's attention to detail here. They are heated as well, which is very comfortable, and I'm enjoying on this rainy, rainy morning. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, getting in the back of the Q3, stepping in here, and this is going to be a tall tale sign of the vehicle. I have to say, I am very, very impressed with the rear seat space. My knees are not hitting the seat in front of me, and my head is not hitting the ceiling. The Q3, entry-level, small vehicle, but you don't feel it back here. Honestly, without driving them side by side, without sitting in them side by side, I feel just as comfortable and I feel like I have just as much space as I did in the Q5 last year as I do here in the Q3. Like, this is a good amount of space. I'm a big guy and I'm comfy. So whoever you're driving around is probably going to be comfy too. So very, very nice to see that. We do have 2 USB-Cs. We have 2 climate vents and our own climate adjustment all the way down there. We also have, of course, a center console with 2 cup holders in it. We have some lights back here that are LED. Again, entry-level vehicle with LEDs. Very, very nice. And we get to enjoy this very wet moonroof, but a moonroof nevertheless. Unfortunately for me, we are going to hop out into the rain and talk about the trunk space. All right, we're on the back of the new Q3. Button under there, and it is a power tailgate. Absolutely love that. Once we are in here, these are the floor mats, going to keep them tidy for the first owner of this vehicle. But we also do have some storage down here with a spare tire. Love to see that. Temporary use only, but it is a full-size spare. It's a space saver spare, but you get a spare tire, which is not always common. We also do have a 12-volt outlet. Kind of interesting that they put it flat like this. Normally, automakers try to put it on the wall so then water and dirt and grime doesn't get in, but I guess for the Q3, they put it down there. We don't have one on the other side, but we do have a little storage cubby. Again, LED lights found in the back. We can come up here, press the button, and it is a power-operated tailgate right back down. Absolutely love that. Now we got to talk about the looks, and this is the biggest change for the 2026 model year. Of course, the architecture and things under the skin changed quite a bit, but visually, obviously, the exterior is the biggest change. The rear end, to me, is like the biggest change, and I like the way that it looks. I like the way that Audi's design language is moving. It's going a lot more aggressive, where the Q3, used to be kind of cute and blobby. Now this is, this is aggressive. This is all grown up. This is a lot more style-oriented than it has been in the past. I drove a Q3 years ago, and that looks like a plushy toy next to this. And I actually kind of like that. I do like how aggressive it looks. I think it looks fresh and modern enough. And I think Audi has been struggling in the last couple of years with making their products feel and look modern. But this year and last year, they've really been taking strides at updating their portfolio. And the Q3 is the latest one to get that treatment. And I think it has gone very well. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving the all-new Q3? Well, I have to say I'm pretty happy with this experience. Really, the only downside I've noticed while driving is that gauge cluster screen. It just makes me feel like I didn't get the full thing, even though if I were to buy this, I would be paying $50,000. That's quite a bit of coin, and yet it feels like they cheaped out on the screen. But besides that, everything in here functions and works as it should. The Q3 is an entry-level vehicle here in the United States for the Audi group. If you want those 4 beautiful rings at the front of your car, this is one of the most affordable ways to do it brand new. And with that in mind, the fact that this is entry-level, it's not supposed to knock your socks off, it's not supposed to be this groundbreaking, life-changing automobile, I think it does that very, very well. It works well, it drives well enough, it's luxurious enough, it feels modern and hip in here. It doesn't feel like I'm going in a time machine and going back in time like some of their other products. I think the Q7 that I drove last year, that's an old product with a facelift. This feels new, it looks new. It's like when you put a new pair of socks on for the first time and you're like, ooh, okay. Kind of makes you feel good. That first wear when you wear brand new sneakers out of the store, that's how this car feels. And I haven't really gotten that feeling from an Audi product in some time. And so it's nice to see them actually putting effort into one of their best sellers. And I think this will continue to be one of their best sellers. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Again, huge thank you to Audi of Louisville for letting me borrow their all-new Q3. These just started hitting dealers not long ago, and so they were able to get me in the seat pretty quick. They've been absolutely wonderful to work with. I was standing around the dealership waiting for the rain to stop, and 4 different people came up and asked if I needed anything, bottle of water, snack, whatever. So they were very, very helpful on a day like today. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.